They had a cook with them who stood alone for boiling chicken and a marrow bone, sharp with flavoring powder and a spice for savor. He could distinguish London ale by flavor, and he could roast and seethe and broil and fry, make good thick soup, and bake a tasty pie. But what a pity, so it seemed to me, that he should have an ulcer on his knee. As for blancmange, he made it with the best. There was a skipper hailing from far west. He came from Dartmouth, so I understood. He rode a farmer's horse as best he could, in a woolen gown that reached his knee. Excuse me. A dagger on a lanyard falling free hung from his neck under his arm and down. The summer heat had tanned his color brown. And certainly he was an excellent fellow, many draught of vintage, red and yellow. He'd drawn at Bordeaux while the trader snored. The nice rules of conscience he ignored. If, when he fought, the enemy vessel sank, he sent his prisoners home, they walked the plank. As for his skill in reckoning his tides, currents, and many other risk besides, moons, harbors, pilots, he had such dispatch that none from Hull to Carthage was his match. Hardy he was, prudent in undertaking. His beard in many a tempest had its shaking, and he knew all the heavens as they were, from Gotland to the Cape of Finisterre, and every cheek in Brittany and Spain. The barge he owned was called the Madeleine. A doctor, too, emerged as we proceeded. No one alive could talk as well as he did on points of medicine and of surgery, for, being grounded in astronomy, he watched his patient's favorable star, and, by his natural magic, knew what the lucky hours and planetary degrees for making charms and magic effigies. The cause of every malady you got he knew, and whether dry, cold, moist, or hot, he knew their seat, their humor, and condition. He was perfect practicing physician. These causes being known for what they were, he gave the man his medicine, and then there. All his apothecaries in a tribe were ready with the drugs he would prescribe, and each day made money from the other's gill. They had been friendly for a goodish while, he was well versed in Asclepius too, and what Hippocrates and Rufus knew, and Dioscorides, and now dead and gone, Galen, Roses, Holly, Serapion, Averroes, Avicenna, Constantine, Scotch Bernard, John of Gaddesden, Gilbertine. In his own diet he observed some measure. There were no superfluities for such pleasure, only digestives, nutritives, and such. He did not read the Bible very much. In blood-red garments, slashed with bluish gray, and lined with taffeta, he rode his way. Yet he was rather close as to expenses, and kept the gold he won in pestilences. Gold stimulates the heart, or so we're told. He therefore had a special love of gold. If you've listened to my other recordings so far, please forgive me, I'm having some speaking troubles. I got something in my throat. Carrying on. A worthy woman from beside Bath City was with us, somewhat deaf, which was a pity. In making cloths she showed us so great a bent, she bettered those of Press and of Ghent. In all the parish not a dame dared stir towards the altar steps in front of her, and if indeed they did, so wrath was she as to be quite put out of charity. Her kerchiefs was of finely woven ground. I dared have sworn they weighed a good 10 pound. The one she wore on Sunday on her head. Her hose was of the finest scarlet red, and red in hue. Her hose was of finest scarlet red, and her gartered tight, her shows were soft and new. Bold was her face, handsome and red in hue. The worthy woman of all her life, what's more, she'd have 5 husbands, all at the church door, apart from an other company of youth. No need just now to speak of that, forsooth. And she had thrice been to Jerusalem, seen many strange rivers, and passed over them. She'd been to Rome and also Boulogne, St. James of Compostela and Cologne. She was skilled in wandering by the way. She had gap teeth, set widely, truth to say. Easily on an ambling horse she sat, well wimpled up, and on her head a hat. As broad as is a buckler or shield, she had a flowing mantle that concealed large hips. Her heels spurred sharply under that. In company she liked to laugh and chat, and knew the remedies for love's mischances, an art in which she knew the oldest dances. A holy-minded man of good renown there was and poor, the parson to a town. Yet he was rich in holy thought and work. He also was a learned man, a clerk, who truly knew Christ's gospel and would preach it devoutly to parishioners and teach it. Benign and wonderfully diligent and patient when adversity was sent, for he so much proved in great adversity. He much disliked extorting tithe or fee. Nay, rather he preferred beyond doubt giving to the poor parishioners round about. From his own goods and Easter offerings he found sufficiency in little things. Wide was his parish, with houses far asunder, yet he neglected not in rain or thunder, in sickness or in grief, to pay a call. On the remotest, whether great or small, upon his feet, and in his hand a stave. This noble example to his sheep he gave, first following the word before he taught it, and it was from the gospel he had caught it. This little proverb he would add thereto, that if gold rust, what then will iron do? For if a priest be foul in whom we trust, no wonder that a common man should rust. And shame it is to see let priest take stock, a soiled shepherd and snowy flock. The true example that a priest should give is one of cleanliness, how the sheep should live. He did not set his benefice to hire, and leave his sheep encumbered in the mire, or run to London to earn easy bread by singing masses for the wealthy dead, or find some brotherhood and get enrolled. He stayed at home and watched over his fold, so that no wolf should make the sheep miscarry. He was a shepherd and no mercenary, holy and virtuous, but then never contemptuous of sinful men, never disdainful, too proud or fine, but was discreet in teaching and benign.